Hello, reporter room investigators. Come on in, come on in. My name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist. My job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects and share with you how to do the same thing. If you haven't subscribed to Reporter Room, please do. It's free and it helps me out so much. And let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about the bizarre lack of interest by Chris and Katie Proudfoot into searching for Sebastian. This lack of interest combined with Nina Gomez's interview on Trev Time. This is why the Proudfoots, in my opinion, remain under a cloud of suspicion, at least by a lot of people here on social media. So some of you guys have been mentioning trafficking, and we've learned that there are perpetrators in Tennessee who are targeting autistic people. And this has prompted Dover Councilman Alex Berta to take action. And as I shared with you in our last live stream, Tennessee does have a problem with trafficking related to autistic people, and perpetrators are targeting people with autism because they have more difficulty reading social cues. They have more difficulty, therefore, in establishing friendships and social bonds. But we've all seen the videos of the flashlight that leave the area of Stafford Court. So was Sebastian lured out by a stranger? And it's possible, but statistics tell us that it's more likely that it's someone closer to home. Only 0.3%, not 3%, 0.3% of all missing children involve a stranger abduction. So everything I'm sharing with you is my opinion. And opinions are not facts. So please don't send any negativity to anyone. And I do want to say thank you to our subscribers, to our mods, and our channel members. Our channel members are the ones with the green, red, and blue verified check marks. And I'm going to be doing a giveaway, and we'll talk about that more later. So sit back, get comfy, because we're going to deep dive into the Sebastian Rogers case, and we're going to be discussing Nina Gomez and why this has set off so many alarm bells now that Faith is with Chris and Katie Proudfoot. So let me say hello to chat. Come on in, you guys. This is our head moderator. This is Njaz, so please give this a thumbs up on your way in. Pepper's here. Good to see you guys. Brother Mike is here. Hi, Mike. How are you today? Tell me where you're from. And after this, I'm going to be doing the Jay Slater case. So I'm going to close out this live stream and start a new one on Jay Slater. If you don't know about that case, he is a missing 19-year-old, and it's a very, very interesting case. There are some red flags in relation to Lucy, who was the last person to see him, also the person that set up the GoFundMe. We're going to talk about those red flags and a lot of other information as well. So thank you, Mike. So come on in, you guys know I don't do the big, long 5-minute intros. Hi, Kami. Good to see you. Hey, Mary Jaree. And Cheryl is here. Come on in. Tell me where you're from. Lisa's here. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. Massachusetts is in the house. Hi, Connie. What judge sent Faith to Chris Proudfoot? We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to dig into all of this, you guys. So we have Knoxville in the house. So you're not too far away from where all this went down, Donna. Meme is from Miami. Hi, Darlene. Oh, it's hot. Oh, dear. Thank you to all of our mods. I really appreciate you. Hi, Connie. Hi, Rhonda. Come on in, you guys. Thank you to Brother Mike for the $1.99 for my computer fund. I really appreciate it. I do use the super chats toward the channel. So I am using this to purchase a new computer. So thank you for that, Mike. Much appreciated. Hi, guys. All right, so we have a lot of great people in the chat. If you want to subscribe, please do. Addis says, is it a coincidence that Sebastian disappeared right before Chris was scheduled to go to court for the custody of Faith? and after Sebastian reported Mr. Chris. Right. Chris did not want Sebastian. Yeah, so let's talk about what the statistics are, because I think this is interesting. Um, can you guys, let me make sure I'm looking at the same thing that you guys are. Yeah, okay, so this is, I do think this is interesting. My sourcing on this is a online blog called Moms Knows Best. Now, she compiled a list of 40 important child abduction statistics and facts. She learned about the different we're gonna talk about different kidnappings, but who's most likely to kidnap a child, and then we're gonna deep dive into this, but how apply this to this particular case. So 460,000 children go missing every year in the United States. There's a 97% recovery of high missing cases. So the vast majority, 97%, are recovered. They can be a virtual kidnapping. This is where they pretend to have someone. This is an online scam, but only 0.3% of missing cases involve an abduction by a stranger. And that's why I do think that it's highly unlikely that Sebastian was abducted by a stranger. But many, the ones that do, like in the Elizabeth Smart case, they can experience Stockholm syndrome, which is a condition that bonds them to their captors. And we know Elizabeth could hear people calling her name, but she didn't respond. But I do think it's worth going into a little bit into the type. So there's 5 different types, 5 main types. We have the endangered runaway, and he could fall into that category. Family abduction, lost or injured, that could also be the case. Missing young adult, and non-family abduction. Endangered runaway make up the majority of cases, accounting for 91% of overall reports. So was this a case of an endangered runaway? Did Sebastian run away? And if so, why? Or was he lured out of the house for someone who was targeting him? Because, and with his autism, did this make him an easy target? I think this is unlikely in light of the fact that Chris Proudfoot has proclaimed that Sebastian didn't have access to online. But let me know what you think. So of all the Amber Alerts, around 70% are reunited with their parents, 6% are unfounded, and 5% are hoaxes. So only 3%, and tragically, I'm watching my words here, and 1.5%, only 1.5% of cases are still open. So Sebastian already is falling into the most rare situation. So on the first study on the missing young people in the United States was done back in 1988. It found that 4,600 children were abducted in the USA by non-family members, and more than 100,000 were victims of attempted abduction, almost done by passing motorists. So did somebody see Sebastian and decide this would be a chance to get on, like to get him, or did they encounter him online, or was that February 26th date important to someone? So let's discuss this, you guys. So this is from Trevor Time. This is Nina Gomez. She has spoken out on this, and we're going to be talking about Nina. We're not going to rewatch the interview because most of you guys have already seen that, but we are going to be talking about the interview and how this relates to the February 26th date. So in reviewing the interview with Nina Gomez, it sounds like Chris Proudfoot wasn't interested in parenting her children from her prior marriage at all, right? It didn't sound like he was interested in parenting those um her little ones at all. There was no interest at all. And when she got pregnant, he didn't want her to continue the pregnancy. She had to go live with her parents to get any support at all, because he withheld emotional and financial support from Nina Gomez in an effort to manipulate her to end the pregnancy. We know this because she has told us this. This is according to her. So now we're hearing that Chris Proudfoot has gotten custody, at least for the summer, of Faith. I have a big problem with that. I think that if since Sebastian is missing, why would you put someone else into the care of Katie Proudfoot? No matter what you think happened, why would you put somebody else in the care of someone who couldn't keep track of of Sebastian? I think supervised visitation would have been the most appropriate to protect Faith. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And I do want to say that, Chris and Katie and Seth, nobody's been charged with anything, but nobody's been cleared either. So let's consider this custody battle for Faith between Chris and Katie and Nina Gomez, and how this was playing out in the Proudfoot home. First of all, Chris Proudfoot admits, he's told us in the Nancy Grace interview, that he wasn't coming home for the month of February. So he wasn't home for weeks. Was he withholding emotional and financial support from Katie Proudfoot? Did Katie Proudfoot feel a pressure to make a choice? And so this was leaving Katie in doing the sole care for Sebastian on top of working for Brink Security. So she was working full time, keeping up the house and taking care of Sebastian. So was Chris Proudfoot even providing financially to the house, or did he do the same thing that he did to Nina Gomez, which is withdraw his emotional and financial support in an effort to manipulate Katie into doing something with Sebastian? Because I basically feel like Katie made a choice repeatedly between Sebastian and Chris Proudfoot. And what I mean by this is, when we've heard reports from the neighbor Bobby that the teachers, she said plural teachers, had contacted CPS. And we know we've heard, 5 different times of CPS reports. Now, I don't know if these are 5 different CPS reports, or if these are 2 or 3 reports that have just been, mentioned 5 times. But regardless, we know there's multiple CPS reports open in relation to Sebastian. So even though Sebastian, and a lot of people have said, well, he was going to live with Seth anyway. Well, what was Sebastian going to reveal to Seth when he was there? Was there something that the Proudfoots were hiding? Was that a motive? Because we know the Proudfoots wanted to get Faith, right? And it would be very hard to get Faith if another CPS call was opened up into Chris Proudfoot. So I do wonder if Katie, who was working full time and taking care of Sebastian with no emotional, and we don't know about the financial support from Chris Proudfoot, but we do know from Nina that this was something that he had done in the past. And to me, a lot of people feel like a person's past behavior is the best prediction of their future behavior. So to me, it wouldn't be out of the realm, being that he wasn't coming home and he was only three plus hours away, door to door. He's told us, right? It wouldn't be out of the realm for him to also be withholding financial support from Katie Proudfoot. I don't know. This is just my opinion, and opinions are not facts. So if she didn't have any emotional support, and let's just add on the stress between Chris and Katie Proudfoot in a marriage that was already stressed, according to what Seth Rogers has told us, and the fact that they were willing to give up custody of Sebastian to Seth, let's consider the same time that they're trying to get custody of Faith, at least for the summer. And it makes me also wonder that how would have Sebastian felt about this? Did he feel like he was being replaced by Chris and Katie Proudfoot? They're giving me away, and I have to go to school online now. I don't get to go to school, which I believe these relationships were very important to Sebastian. Could this have stressed him into, when he heard Chris Proudfoot on the phone that night, did this send him into some kind of a panic or meltdown? And did Katie, who was, potentially being egged on by Chris Proudfoot, did she tell him to get out? And is this how he ended up outside with no shoes, no coat, no keys, just a flashlight keychain? Did she hand him that on the way out the door? But no shoes on and no coat in February. So did Sebastian feel loved by the Proudfoots? Did Sebastian feel like Katie was choosing Chris Proudfoot over him when CPS came to the house to follow up on what Sebastian was saying? Did she take up for Sebastian? It doesn't sound like it. It doesn't sound like Katie took up for Sebastian, because Chris Proudfoot proudly tells us that Sebastian was told that if he continues to make stuff up like this, that he was going to get in trouble. So it sounds like Katie made her choice, and she chose Chris Proudfoot over Sebastian, who she should have been responsible for. So I think a lot of people are horribly concerned that now we have Katie running around with Faith. Let's consider the fact that what Nina has told us about, how the Bowerstocks tried to take Faith away from her and help Chris Proudfoot get Faith that way. Are they going to do that again at the end of this summertime visit? Is there going to be a grab for Faith? Is he going to run this into court? And so how did all of this make Sebastian feel? Did he feel like he was being replaced by Faith? Did he feel loved? We've heard from Katie Proudfoot that she told us that Sebastian told her, I love you and I love the puppies. But it really concerns me that there was no account from Katie Proudfoot that he said it back to her. That she said it back to him. That she said, Sebastian, I love you. Did she say it back to him? Did he feel loved? Because I'm really concerned that he didn't. I really am concerned. And I'm wondering if basically Katie was choosing Chris Proudfoot. He may have said, he told Seth that they wanted him to take custody of Sebastian because they were having issues in the marriage, right? So why is Chris Proudfoot reaching out to Seth to arrange this? And again, how would this have made Sebastian feel? Did he run away that night? We've all seen the video of the flashlight flickering in the night, and then this car waiting. Some people have said it was an Uber, but that would have been hours later. This is according to neighbors between 3:30 and 4 a.m. in the morning. So was this an opportunist, or is this February 26th date, after the best day ever on February 25th, was this a second divorce, as XL Vault put it, a second divorce by Katie Proudfoot to Seth Rogers? So I think it speaks volumes about Katie. She chose Chris again when she decided she was going to accompany her husband. I'm going to accompany my husband. He does not need a babysitter. The law enforcement told her not to search and to stay home, because if he came home, they wanted her there. But as soon as she thought no one was looking, she went with Chris Proudfoot. And she got called out a little bit for it on the Nancy Grace show. Nancy Grace was nice about it, but she brought it to our attention. So I don't feel like Sebastian was a priority for Katie. She left the house while he was still missing. To me, this tells me everything about her priorities. We have accounts from Katie's own mouth that Sebastian said, I love you to her. No account of Katie saying, I love you, Sebastian. So now we have her accompanying Chris Proudfoot back to work, and we've seen them out shopping for motorcycles. Again, there could have been a reward put up for Sebastian, but instead they're out shopping for motorcycles. Again, this tells me what the priorities of Chris and Katie are. The priorities are a new car for Katie. Their priorities are new motorcycles. Their priorities are going camping together and Katie being with Chris. Her priority is not, and has never been, at least not in the last few months, looking for Sebastian. So was Sebastian aware of how his mother felt about him and the fact that she was choosing Chris Proudfoot? I think that he would have been. He's 15 years old. He was smart. He wasn't diagnosed with autism until a year ago. So if he was aware of it, how did this make him feel? Did this make him more vulnerable to a predator? So was there somebody interested in trafficking him, more vulnerable to running away? Or was he given the best day ever and something more nefarious happened? So let's check in with chat, and then we're going to continue on together. I have a lot of stuff to dig into on this case. So I want to talk a little bit about how easy it would be to manipulate, and how Nina Gomez has shared with us how she was manipulated, and then apply that to Sebastian and also to Katie. So let me just say hello to chat, and Addis Press says, is it a coincidence that Sebastian disappeared right before Chris was scheduled to go to court? Right. Exactly. I just don't think I'm wondering the same thing, Addis. Crystal said, that's what I'm wondering, shaking my head. Karen says, I believe this is premeditated. It's an act of foul play, mainly due to listening to Nina's testimony 3 times before. Yeah, and we're not going to listen to it today. I just wanted to, for those of you that don't know who I'm talking about, I just want you to know, who I'm speaking of. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. Let YouTube know that we are doing a wholesome show here. Patty Cake says, way too many red flags in the Sebastian case. Brother Mike says, oh, yeah, we do. We have a Facebook group. If you type in Sebastian Rogers and Reporter Room, it should pop up. If you type in Jay Slater and Reporter Room, it should pop up. Hey, Holly. Cal Guy says, hi from Dubai. Cal Gal says, hi from Dubai. I don't believe in coincidences, but then I'm old and cynical. Hey, Marjorie. Lisa's got green hearts up for Sebastian. Connie Lee said, Chris Proudfoot thought it was funny when someone mentioned about Sebastian being in concrete. Yeah, that text message was so inappropriate, right? And Chris Proudfoot said, we would only need so many inches. Is that all he needed? Yeah, it's maybe he just wanted to dismiss it, but the text was callous and cold in light of the fact that he was missing, which says a lot to me about Chris Proudfoot and what he thinks is hilarious. Mary Jury says, yes, he was certainly knowledgeable on the subject. Connie says, but Seth didn't get his son. No, he didn't. He didn't. Exactly, says Kay. Cal Gal says, I do believe in statistics, right? I do too. 0.3%, not 3%, 0.3%. That's less than 1%. 0.3%. That's a really small statistic, you guys. Life Happens says 100% think he had internet access and could have confided in someone that he thought he could trust. Thank you, Connie. You are too. Thank you. This is our head mod, Ed Jazz. And if you guys see the wrenches, thank you to all of our mods and all of our channel members. Brother Mike says, Chris Proudfoot has faith with everything else going on. Yeah, I know, right? And this is it gives me we saw the same thing in the Harmony Montgomery case. What does it take? What does it take? How many red flags does it take to maybe do a supervised visitation while we find out what happened? Bernadette said, Nina might not get a chance when the may not have a choice when the Proudfoots get faith if the judge ruled. Well, they have her for the summer. And so Chris is now still gone. Chris isn't in the house now. He's still working. He didn't quit his job. So who has faith all day? Katie does. Who has faith all week? Katie does. Is Chris coming home now? How much time is he spending with her? Terry says, I agree that none of the 3 adults should get any custody. Poor Nina. Yeah, if I were Nina, I would be very, very concerned in light of what the Bowersox did to her before, according to her. This is alleged. This is according to Nina. Marjorie says, I can't believe she was allowed to go there. Thank you. Holly is welcoming you. The court ordered that Chris has visitation rights. It was not Nina's choice. Yeah, I agree. This is never Nina's choice. She must be worried sick. I feel bad for her. I believe everything she says. Terry thinks that Chris Proudfoot is a bully and a control freak. And Jazz is encourage everybody, please like and subscribe. Yeah, we're doing a giveaway. I have a video up on that if you want to know more about it, or I have the terms of it. But it's whatever video clicks over from 39,999 to 40,000, and we're coming up on 40,000. I can't get to 40,000 without you guys, so please help me out. Holly says, yeah, Marjorie says CPS also failed him. Yeah, they did. Holly says, I believe Nina too and feel terrible for her and Faith. All right, so let's talk. And Bernadette says, I can't believe they would allow Faith in the house where there's an active Amber Alert happen. Right? I mean, just some common sense. Where is the common sense in all of this? All right, so let's talk about withholding. Let me just, because I do think that this was a manipulation tactic that Chris Proudfoot has used in the past, and I believe he's was using it currently. So, and we saw this in the Micah Miller case, right? So, this my source on this is Psych Central. So, 5 withholding tactics malignant narcissists and psychopaths use to torment you. Now, I'm not diagnosing anybody as a narcissist. I'll be using narcissist as an adjective. And this is how the stats work. 100% of psychopaths are narcissistic, but not all narcissistic people are psychopaths. So I just want to like put that out there. But they have a need to belittle their victims. They narcissists withhold, and you might have you might have experienced this yourself. Narcissists will withhold affection randomly and deliberately without reason. Apart from the conflicting chaos they themselves manufacture out of thin air. In fact, you may have even encountered a narcissist who began withholding affection right after being excessively attentive and warm. These hot and cold behaviors are known as intermittent reinforcement, and they are to train you into gradually accepting unacceptable cruelty that they will dish out during the devaluation period. During times of withholding affection, some narcissists will even physically distance themselves from you dramatically to get you to react. Now, we've heard Nina talking about behaviors like this. Did Katie experience this? Is this why Chris Proudfoot was not coming home for the month of February? Is this why Katie was trying to be so cute when she said snacks, snacks? And fun fact, I made breakfast, trying to appease this man. This can happen to men too, though. So one of the most glaring red flags that you're dealing with a toxic, I'm going to just say perpetrator here, I'm watching my words, is their inability to share in your joy or your success, often due to their pathological envy or need to maintain control and an illusion of superiority. We saw this in the Jody Hildebrandt Ruby Franke case, right? Ruby Franke was in jail, and I do think that she is narcissistic, in my opinion. I'm using it as an adjective, but she had to be superior to someone. So she had to be superior to Jody Hildebrandt. And she talked about how she could have her handcuffs behind her back, but Jody Hildebrandt could only have them in front because Jody was bigger. So she had to feel superior to someone. And at that point, it was, it had to be someone in jail. And this was in a recorded conversation with her sister. So healthy relationships have some degree of capitalization. This is a excitement that your partner will express for your accomplishment. So maybe you've had a partner like this, maybe you've had a parent like this, maybe you've had a coworker like this. But these healthy, I'm happy for you, shows well-adjusted behaviors. They're signs of well-adjusted behavior. So malignant narcissists do not like giving healthy praise to others, even if it's warranted, unless it caters to their agenda. They may engage in praising you excessively. This is called love bombing, and this is why it's so confusing to people and why they keep going back. It's because of that intermittent phase. This is what kept Micah Miller, in my opinion, going back repeatedly to JP Miller. This is what kept Gabby Petito going back to Brian Laundrie. There are good times, but they should be red flags. They will fail to acknowledge what makes you happy, refuse to recognize events that are worthy of celebration, and withdraw from complimenting you altogether. So withholding validation and discussion, stonewalling. So this is according to Dr. John Gottman. Refusing to engage in healthy communication and frequently shutting down discussions is known as stonewalling, and it's one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse or predictors of a divorce. It's one of the malignant narcissists' most beloved withholding tactics. So maybe this is something that you have gone through yourself. So understanding this and knowing how to what you're looking at can go a long way into helping you heal. So much like the way they withhold affection, malignant narcissists will subject you to stonewalling and silent treatment, even after periods where everything seems to be going well. Have you ever been given the silent treatment by someone who just refuses to talk to you and refuses to tell you why? They can be using stonewalling as a way to escape accountability for their actions. If, for example, every time you raise a legitimate concern to the narcissist about their behavior, they shut down the conversation and quit and exit. They stop talking to you. They also manage to escape any kind of consequences by doing this to you. So withholding the truth to string you along. They are pathological liars. Deception by trade, by which they deal in their illusions to their vulnerable victims to keep one step ahead of them. Lying by omission is common among these types. So is this what we saw from Chris Proudfoot when he was talking about the CPS, even to Nancy Grace? Just lying by omission. Unlike the occasional white lies empathic people might tell to spare others from embarrassment or shame, a malignant narcissist omits to tell you the truth about some pretty big facts, such as the fact that they are already married, that they are having multiple affairs, or that they're engaged in large-scale fraud. Withholding the truth can put their victims at risk, but narcissists will do so frequently without care or concern because they lack empathy and they possess an excessive sense of entitlement. So to them, the most important thing is their needs are met, and they don't really care about you. They see you as a thing, an object, not as a real person. So one of the big things, and in my opinion, Nina Proudfoot brought this up to this, is withholding resources. So this, and I believe this was occurring in the relationship between Chris Proudfoot and Nina Proudfoot. Remember, this Katie is wife number 5, right? Wife number 5. So financial, isolating you from friends and family, and we saw him doing this when she relocated from New Mexico. Attempting to orchestrate smear campaigns are various ways that narcissists can withhold resources from you, whether those resources are monetary, social, or even emotional. So is this why he wasn't coming home for the month of February? Is this why Katie felt like she had to accompany my husband to work? They know the order to create a sense of dependency on their victims. They have to isolate the victims from the outside feedback and capital that would enable the victim to exit and move forward into a better life without them, right? Is this why she has to accompany her husband? Isolating you from your support networks allows them to become the dominant voice in your life, which alters your reality and self-perception as they gaslight, belittle, and slowly but surely dismantle your sense of self. Smear campaigns where they try to slander you and taint your reputation, whether at work or in shared social circles, allow the malignant narcissist to feed other people misinformation, which is just a nice way of saying lies and nonsense about you, so that you look like the person that's doing that. That's some serious gaslighting, right? You look like you're the perpetrator in all of this, and they're playing the victim. But behind closed doors, they're not speaking to you. They're not taking any kind of accountability. But they take control over your shared finances in a way to try to keep you trapped in this relationship and not able to leave. So it's a sign of coercive control, right? So let me check in with chat. And let me see. Make sure I don't get too behind. I'm so glad you guys are joining me today. We're not done, but I do want to say a thank you to VIP Autism GMA ×3, our producers, George Brown and Jazz, Angry Mons, Not So Saintly, Debbie Joe, and Jane J. Our channel members, if you would like to have your name appear like this in all of my live streams and videos, just hit the join button. You will also get a check mark next to your name. So if you see the green, blue, and red check marks, those are channel members. It starts out green and then turns red and then turns blue. So thank you to all our channel members for allowing me to cover the cases like this. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you also for, this is super thanks, gratitude from our last live stream and gifted memberships from our last live stream. Okay, so let's go. Let me check in with chat and then let me just see where we're at. And then we're going to dig more into this. Patty Cake says, I wouldn't give Katie a hamster. Hey, Pepper. Glad you're here. Brother Mike says, the Katie Proudfoot entire timeline stinks. There's so many red flags. There are. Terry says, it's all about money. Chris Proudfoot didn't want Sebastian. Chris Proudfoot didn't want to PL. I don't know what PL is. If you want to clarify that, Terry, I'd love to be able to make sure I have that comment correct. Patty Cake says, in my opinion, Sebastian left in that car. That all makes sense. Yeah, so did he leave on his own? Was he lured out? GDFGD says, anything Katie says is the opposite. She knows. Rhonda says, I also noticed that Katie did not say back, I love you, too. Shameful. Yeah. Imagine how that would feel if you said, I love you, and then the person doesn't say it back. That's withholding, isn't it? Betty hopes he'll be found at Disney World one day. I hope so, too. Patty Cake thinks are going down. Hey, Kendra. And Jazz says, thank you for being with us today. This is our head mod. And Jazz. Hi, Jane. No worries. You're good. And we're going to be doing the Jay Slater case right after this. I'm going to close out this live stream when we're done, and we're going to do that one right after. T. Hughley said, Chris isn't the one who needed a babysitter. I'm sure Chris made Katie come with him to keep an eye on her. Yeah, it's a way to control her and isolate her, right? By having her at the job site, it isolates Katie. Holly says, thank you for being here. Lisa says, Betty, my dearest hope is that he's with someone who loves him. I hope so too. Marjorie said, who leaves their house when there's a missing child, right? That's such a big red flag. Patty Cake's literally got red flags up there. Kendra says, new to your channel, but I like how you think. Thank you so much, Kendra. That means a lot. All right. Let me see. Terry says, Katie Proudfoot didn't love Sebastian, but her behavior, lack of emotions. Katie Proudfoot has so much hatred toward Seth Rogers, and Sebastian got and received that emotion back. The entire group are selfish and controlling. And that's what makes me wonder if this February 26th wasn't, XL Volt said she thought that it was a way to divorce Seth a second time. That Katie divorced him twice. Once on February 26th, which is the date on their divorce papers 8 years ago. And then again in 2024. Because is it just a coincidence that Sebastian disappears and is reported missing on February 26th? I think the date has significance. Betty says, why would KP have been talking to Chris Proudfoot on the phone for so long that evening? Or was it earlier the next day? The law enforcement knows. We don't know. Jane thinks that Chris's comments are callous. Yeah, that cement thing was really beyond the pale. Kami says, the whole case is sad and disheartening. I don't think this is going to end well. I'm worried about that too. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. Help me out with the algorithm. Hey, Mama Bear. Glad to see you. All right. So Betty says, was Sebastian the first child Katie Proudfoot had to raise? Yeah, she had him very young. And Seth had him while she was in the military. And then she came back from being in the military, and I guess they got divorced, and Katie took Sebastian. And it looks like she, hooked up with Chris not too long after that. And Chris, was on wife number 5. Jay said, how did they get Faith even for the summer? I don't know. Yeah, this has Harmony Montgomery vibes. How did Adam Montgomery get custody of Harmony? Like, what are the judges thinking or seeing? Grace said, what was the name of this judge that allowed? I don't know. I don't even want to put that out there because I'm worried somebody will be negative toward the judge. So, but you guys can look it up if you want to. I don't know if it's out there though. Cindy said, whoever took him, he knew. I don't think he would want to go with a stranger without a ruckus and the dogs barking. Holly says, Proudfoots must have a very good connections, but all of it will backfire, in my opinion. Yeah, we've had a lot of people asking about the Proudfoot connections, their connections in law enforcement. Is this how they're getting away with so much? Because again, it's 0.3% of children. I mean, those are really low statistics. Only 0.3%. That's not 3%. That's not 1%. 0.3%, less than 1% of missing children involve an abduction by a stranger. I mean, those are really interesting statistics. Definitely worth considering. All right, let's continue on. Let's talk about gaslighting. Make sure I'm looking at the same thing you guys are. Let me move myself out of the way. Okay. All right, so let's talk about gaslighting. So gaslighting, and those of you that have been in any kind of a narcissistic relationship, you guys can relate to this. Gaslighting is a form of manipulation and psychological control. Victims of gaslighting are systematically fed false information that leads them to question what they know to be true, often about themselves. They may end up doubting their memory, their perception, and even their sanity. And over time, a gaslighter's manipulation can grow more complex and potent, making it increasingly difficult for the victim to see the truth. So is this what's been going on in the Proudfoot home? Was Sebastian being gaslit by Chris Proudfoot with the CPS thing? If this is true and the CPS worker told Sebastian not to make stuff up, and it turns out that he wasn't, that person deserves to lose their job. They should not be working in the form. If multiple teachers, if what neighbor Bobby told us about multiple teachers, she said teachers, plural, reported to CPS, that some kind of action should have been taken. But we know in these cases that a lot of times it doesn't happen. We know in Harmony Montgomery, even though she had a black eye, the CPS worker was told that he was told that she fell, and he did, oh, okay. So a relationship with a gaslighter, it might start out really great. They will praise you on the first date. You'll be confiding in them, but everything that you're confiding to this person is going to be used against you. And it's a tactic known as love bombing. Love bombing. So they will initially lie about little things, but the volume of misinformation or lies will get bigger. It will grow. And the gaslighter may accuse you of lying if you dare to question their narrative. They will deploy occasional positive reinforcement. This is to confuse you, but at the same time, they are working to turn other people against you, even your own friends and family, by telling them that you are lying or delusional, right? And let's talk, just like put a little example of how this could work. So let's just say that a narcissistic person, you're trying to bring up something that they did wrong, and they tell you they can't remember. They think they're having dementia. And then you believe it, because who would lie about having dementia, right? So you go to another relative and you're like, I'm really worried about so-and-so. So-and-so is saying that he has dementia. And then the narcissist goes back to the relative that you told and says, you are a liar. You're not telling the truth. I never said that. They're just making stuff up about me. That's gaslighting, right? That's gaslighting. That's just an example. So it can be very effective. So almost anyone can be susceptible to gaslighting techniques. It could be a DV situation. It can be narcissists. It can be culty type of behavior, right? And they're hard to detect because they might recognize their victim's actions and mental state. So this is where psychopathy does come in as a chief trait in this type of deployment of narcissism. Manipulators tend to present one face to their prey. That would be you in the situation if you're the one being manipulated, and another face to everyone else, leading the victims to assume that if they ask or speak out for help, which is what I'm wondering if this was what happened to Sebastian. One face was presented to Sebastian, and we've heard Chris Proudfoot talk. You don't have to take my word for it. We heard how he sounded in that recorded phone conversation when he didn't know he was being recorded with PI Heather that was played, that the lab has on his channel. So did Sebastian fall into this? He was only 15 years old and come to believe that if he asked or requested help, if he tried to speak out, that no one would believe him. No one would believe him. Remember, gaslighters will repeat these tactics across multiple relationships. And I think this is telling, and this is why I wanted to talk about Nina Gomez, not to revisit the interview, but just to talk about what she told us, because gaslighters repeat these tactics across several relationships. And I think that's huge when we're talking about Chris Proudfoot and how this may have happened to Sebastian. So what's the difference between gaslighting, being gaslit, and being manipulated? Well, it is a form of manipulation, but manipulation is more common, and almost anybody can be manipulative. Children try to manipulate parents. Marketers try to manipulate consumers. They try to get you to buy this laundry detergent because it smells great. Get rid of your husband's ring around the collar. Like, why are you responsible as a wife if your husband doesn't wash his neck? How about he washes his neck? But this gaslighting involves a pattern of behaviors with the intent not just to influence someone, but to also control them. It's about control. It's about control. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about coercive control. Let me move myself out of the way. I do want to check in with chat. Patty Cake says the only problem is Chris isn't home. Faith is with Katie. How disgusting that is and disturbing. It is. Welcome, Cindy Hodges from Endos. Gina says, hi, Jessica. My heart is sad for Sebastian and how Nina being away from her daughter. Yeah, if I were Nina, I would really be concerned in light of what Nina has told us. Rhonda said, when Seth worked, Sebastian had internet access. That to me would have been Sebastian would have been lured out. Very interesting, Rhonda. It's very possible that he would have been susceptible to somebody like this if he was feeling isolated because of his autism, right? Because autism has more difficulties reading social cues. So Sebastian would have had more difficulty reading social cues from other people. This would make it harder for somebody like Sebastian to maintain and establish strong relationships. It would have made it more difficult for him to learn how to set boundaries with people, right? So, yeah, I think you're right. Mike says that Nina is mentally scared from Chris Proudfoot. Marjorie said, excuse me, do you think law enforcement is holding anything close to the vest? We don't know. I have no idea. I wish I knew. Jane says narcissists use withholding tactics to manipulate you. Exactly. So was this being done to Sebastian? Imagine being under the control of Chris Proudfoot. We've heard how he talked to Heather, another adult who's a private investigator, in that recorded phone call. We heard how vicious and nasty he was. So imagine being Sebastian, a 15-year-old under the control with a mother who is choosing Chris Proudfoot over and over and over. Not me, not Sebastian. So Sebastian's thinking, not me. She's not choosing me. She's choosing Chris Proudfoot. And Jess says, welcome to everyone coming in. Thank you for being with us today. Sue says, I believe the step-grandparents took him to Alaska with them. They have a home there, a boys' school for autism or something more sinister. I think law enforcement did check out that. I think they did check that out because I think they were concerned in light of what Nina has told us. They were concerned too. Jay said, I experienced these people, narcissists, firsthand. Yeah, let me know if you've had a firsthand experience with this. Maybe it's been with a coworker, a boss, a partner, a parent, a sibling. Betty says, is there a relative in Florida on the Bowersox family? I don't know. My senses take me south where he may be enjoying to like thinking it's a long vacation. I think that if somebody had him, they would have produced him by now. Unless it's a stranger. Brother Mike says, she is interesting. Karen says, I think Faith is scared the way Katie had to hold her in church yesterday and Sebastian missing. I would want to be with my own mother. Yeah, imagine being placed in under the control of Chris Proudfoot and Katie Proudfoot. How do they get custody even for the son? Yeah, I'm with you, Holly. Holly said the decisions the judge is making regarding visitation of Faith could have dire consequences. Is the judge paying attention? Sophie said that's so accurate. That's a great question, Holly. Is the judge paying attention? It doesn't seem like it. And this is something we've seen over and over and over in these cases. So, I mean, even in the Micah Miller case, she reported to law enforcement about GPS tracking devices, and she was an adult, and law enforcement did not protect her. So let's talk about coercive control, because what was going on, what was happening to Sebastian in the Proudfoot home? Coercive is a term that implies a use of force. So in a relationship, coercive can refer to anything like a pattern of oppressive and dominating behavior that uses harm to steer your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. And I think dominating is a great way to describe Chris Proudfoot. I think Katie's little girl snacks and fun fact, I made breakfast is alarming. The fact that she had to accompany her husband to work. It's just so many red flags in regards to Katie. So it can be physical, but and I'm wondering if this is something that, why CPS was called out, why Seth was so angry after he got those CPS reports, right? He was so angry. But it can also be threats, declaration of impending consequences designed to create fear. Right? You better not stay that way or you'll regret it. Next time you do that, the dog is going to the shelter. Remember he gave away Sebastian's snake? They gave away Sebastian's snake. And what happened to those two other dogs? We see pictures of Chris and Katie Proudfoot holding up, looks like labradoodles, in my opinion, some kind of doodle, maybe a Bernedoodle or labradoodle. And there's two other dogs prior to these little dogs that we see in subsequent interviews. But what happened to those first two dogs? Where are they? Who has them? How did that make Sebastian feel? They can insult and humiliate you to break down your self-esteem. And we saw him doing this. We heard Chris Proudfoot doing this in the interview. In the phone conversation with PI Heather. We heard him doing this on Web Sleuth's live show. We heard him humiliating and dominating and calling names. Isolation can prevent you from verifying with others that relationship behaviors may not be healthy. I'm watching my words here. It may keep you from leaving and possibly force you to solely rely on your partner for support. Isolation tactics can involve making excuses why you can't attend family events or social functions, using guilt to get you to stay home, making fun of your interest to discourage you. Coercive control can include activity monitoring. Can use checking your internet history, your browser history, It can include financial control. When your financial moves need to be limited or scrutinized. It can create a situation where you depend on your partner for basic needs and you lack the resources to leave. So, was this something that played out in the Proudfoot home? In the relationship that Chris had with Sebastian? In the relationship that Chris had with Katie? Is this something that we've seen before? Let me check in with chat. Sophie, thank you so much for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. Somebody got offended because I said what I was putting it toward, but I think it's nice if somebody's donating to you if you just say what you're putting it towards. In my case, I'm putting it toward a new computer. I do need a new one. I tend to blow through them about every year and a half or so because of the heavy use that I put on them with editing and live streaming and all of that. So I really am grateful. It's going to a good cause. Rhonda says, my ex-husband was diagnosed malignant narcissist. Everything you're saying is spot on. Behind closed doors, the narcissist is worse. Yeah. Diane says, and Katie's little girl voice annoys me. I think she does it for Chris. Yeah, I think so too. Snacks. I'm sure she does that because at some point in the relationship, she was told that was cute. It sounds weird to see a fully grown woman talking like that. It does, when she's said it, just, I don't know. To me, it was like fingers on the chalkboard. But fun fact, just this perky little girl voice. Fun fact, I make breakfast. I'm so cute. And it just makes me wonder if she's trying to ingratiate herself to this man. And did she put her relationship with Chris Proudfoot ahead of her relationship with Sebastian? Did she literally not defend Sebastian? Audacity said, I mean, Seth gave his dogs away too. So the snake is a moot point. Well, I think it adds on. I think it's cumulative. I think it adds on. I think to me it's another manipulation tactic. If you don't do this, I'm going to take away your pet, and then you lose there was cats in the house. Like Chris said he was allergic to cats. So, okay, that's, he's allergic. But I just do wonder if, was the snake taken away, or was Sebastian told that the cats were taken away for a different reason than what you and I have been told? Occam's razor, sir, for sure. Rhonda, I'm glad you survived. The most dangerous time with a narcissist is leaving. Yeah. Who is getting divorced? Chris Proudfoot and Katie Proudfoot. It's from Brandy. Diane says, Chris Proudfoot got rid of everything Sebastian loved. His cat, his snakes, the toys in his room, and now his dogs. He wanted to eliminate Sebastian, in my opinion. Yeah, I when you look at pictures of the Proudfoot house, you don't see any toys outside, right? There's no basketball hoop. There's no trampoline. There's no volleyball net or badminton net or just like any outdoor games. There's no roller skates or bikes sitting outside. And in the garage, we just saw this mattress that we are being told, belongs to, supposed to be for Faith. But if you had a new mattress, why wouldn't you just bring it in the house? Why leave it in the garage? I don't know. I think it's weird. But I could be, I can be wrong. This is just my opinion. Christine said, common sense. Katie was the last person with Sebastian alive, and Sebastian did not walk out any door. Katie and accomplices put Sebastian in a vehicle and got rid of him, in my opinion. Now, everything we're sharing is my opinion. Hey, 1300 says to Rhonda, so very true. They twist everything and want to bring you down. They also make you believe you're going insane. Yeah, that's the gaslighting, right? Jane says, that's a rough one. Thank you for sharing. Our stories help each other. Yes, they do. This is Njaz. This is our head mod, if you guys don't know. Thank you to all our mods and channel members and subscribers. Who's getting divorced? Well, nobody that I know of. But was the divorce date which is February 26th from 8 years ago, was Katie getting a second divorce from Seth Rogers? Did she decide she just didn't want to deal with Seth Rogers anymore? We've heard Katie and Chris Proudfoot describing Sebastian as, forgetting to wear deodorant. This is really common with that age group when they're first hitting puberty, right? They, they can end up not putting deodorant on, not knowing when to wear it, when not to wear it. They have to be reminded. And Sebastian was a special need. So I think, I don't think that's that unusual, but I just think it's weird that they're bringing up these negatives about Sebastian. Chris and Katie Proudfoot are, while he's missing. Jane says Katie Proudfoot had to reduce herself down to get along with Chris. I think so too. Snacks. And fun fact, I made breakfast. In other words, it sounds like she was almost being criticized because she didn't make breakfast enough. Remember, she was working. He wasn't coming home for the month of February. So she was working and taking care of Sebastian and that house by herself. He wasn't coming home. He wasn't coming home. Paula said, I wonder if Chris had Katie prove her love to him by getting rid of Sebastian. Maybe he said, him or me. Yeah. And maybe he was worried when the CPS call came in of what Sebastian was going to tell Seth. Would CPS be called on Chris Proudfoot again? And would this affect him getting custody of Faith? I just don't think this is all a coincidence. I think this is all related, either to Sebastian feeling alienated and being driven away, or something more nefarious. Paula says, oh, sorry, went through that one. CK says hello, NJazz. Jane says hello, CJK. Aurora Dawn says the narcissist used to tell me he would make my dog vanish. Then one day he dog napped my dog. It took me 3 months to get my dog back. Oh, wow. I'm glad you got your dog back. Thank you so much, NJazz, for the super thanks. I really appreciate it. I am putting that toward my computer. Thank you so much. So it will be going right back into the channel. Brother Mike says thank you to NJazz as well. Audacity said, we had family pets, but if my son wanted a snake and the deal was that he took care of it, or it had to go, he didn't take care of it, it would have to go. I don't do snakes. Well, she did do snakes. So there was a snake in the house. So why did they get rid of the snake? Maybe the snake was just getting too big. Maybe it has nothing to do with it, but it does seem like that is one of the tactics that they use, right? So I understand not wanting to do snakes. Occam says to Aurora, that had to be traumatic. I'm sorry. We have such a caring and kind community. Hey, Carol, welcome. Glad to see you. Hi, Holly. Holly says, right. Crooked Arrow says, you take your child aside privately and teach them proper hygiene, even with your kids in the classroom. Exactly. This is normal for that age group to not know when to wear deodorant and all that. You do have to, help them with that, especially if they're special needs. And they said Sebastian was mentally a couple years younger. So if he was 15, this would put him around 12 or 13 mentally, which is, around that age where you really are working with them to get the deodorant on and to be, showering regularly and all of that. But was this being used against him? Was he being shamed for going through puberty? You too, Aurora. And we're going to be talking about the Jay Slater case once we're done with this. I'm going to literally log out of this and then log into Jay Slater. So please follow me over there for that. Paula said, was this to let Seth know without saying to him she's never going to deal with him again? Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Did Katie divorce Seth a second time? Was this February 26th date significant to someone? I think dates, to me, have significance. The reason the 13th has been chosen over and over is because of, I think it's because Judith was the 13th apostle or disciple. So I think it is significant, right? It's considered to be like it has a negative connotation. And I think that's why in the Delphi case, we have February 13th, where Abby and Libby were done away with. In the Idaho 4 case, we have November 13th, right? In the Watts case, also, Chris Watts case, also happened on the 13th. So was this February 26th? Was this date significant? Because this is the date on their divorce papers. Was this date significant to someone? Are you watching closely? Zoots and Boots said Chris and Katie started as adulterers, then both backing each other out of each other's spouse's divorce. Katie helped Chris, then against Nina. Now he's helping her to lord over their past even more. 1300 said, women who have to act like a baby drive me crazy, drive me nuts. My brother's second wife did it, and nobody thought it was cute. It was just vile. I'm just wondering if she feels like she has to do that to ingratiate herself into this. Punishment. Yeah, exactly. Audacity says, mine is an ASPE, that's Asperger's. I don't see facts about autism and talking about it as negative. My son is 19. I still have to remind him about deodorant. Most of the time I have to remind him about to shower. Yeah, that's really normal. Giveth and taketh away. Exactly. Hey, Babstar. Babstar says, I think if everything happened the way they said it did, Katie Proudfoot would be out looking for Sebastian. Obviously, she has no reason to search. They know where he is. And I think so many people feel like Babstar does that, most people would never leave the house. They would never leave the house if they thought something like this happened. So did Katie feel like she was making that choice? I'm going to choose Chris again. I'm going to accompany my husband. Snacks. Fun fact, I made breakfast to ingratiate herself into this man who is going to continue to be withholding. It's not going to start. It's not going to stop. And we know from Katie's own childhood, her relationship and what went down with her mother, I just wonder if what seems normal to Katie isn't really normal at all. Amy heard the snake had scale rot. I didn't hear that. I heard that the yeah, please no all caps in chat. Just use regular typing because the algorithm perceives that as being you're yelling. Hey, Cat's Life, I'm glad you're here. Audacity said it's really not just that case. It's not mentally. It's some things in that diagnosis. My son's IQ is in the 140s, but he didn't learn to tie his shoes or ride a bike. Yeah, and we've heard from like Albert Einstein, who I believe also had high functioning autism, that and he was a genius, but he didn't speak, and I think until he was like between 7 and 9 years old, depending on which account you read. So he didn't speak until he was older. So yeah, I believe he was probably high functioning autism. That says, oops, until he was around 14. Crooked Arrow said, it's not professional to demean or embarrass any child. I agree. Christine said, Katie is always hiding and letting her creepy husband speak for her, and he wasn't there. Right. Right. Almost childlike behavior. I think she's trying to ingratiate herself with somebody who's going to be love bombing and gaslighting now, but it's going to turn on her as well if it hasn't already. Hey, Cat's Life. Audacity said, but yes, if not taught early on, they can be vulnerable to strangers. You really need to drill it into them that these people are not their friends. No, they're not. H&J Martinez says, my duty as a parent is to remind my children of anything that they forget. I wouldn't treat them negatively because they forgot. Same here. Hey, Dilly. Yeah, you're in the right place. And after this, we're going to be doing the Jay Slater case right after this. I'm going to log out of this one and we're going to do that case next. And then I'm going to be doing a members only live stream to debrief this case. We're going to talk about the Idaho 4 case. We'll talk about, and the Jay Slater case. We'll talk about whatever you guys want, but we're going to do a debrief with members only. Crooked Arrow says, I'm a great mom. I made breakfast. Really? Yeah, right? It was another way of Katie to portray herself as a good mom. But this is the same mother who, when her son said, I love you, and I love the puppies too, didn't say it back, according to her own account. Same mom who left the house to accompany her husband to work. Chris was a big boy. He had been gone for the whole month of February by himself. Katie should have stayed put. She should have stayed put. But we haven't seen these two searching. We haven't seen any care. We haven't seen them put up a reward. They can afford to shop for new motorcycles and new cars, but they can't put a reward up for Sebastian. They could live in this $500,000+ house, but they can't put up a couple of $1,000 reward, a $10,000 reward for Sebastian. I just don't see any concern, in my opinion, for them to get him home. Texas Life Julie says, I believe he did give her an ultimatum, like him or me. I think I'm worried about this too. Occam Jason said, I have 2 boys with Asperger's, one that was nonverbal. And for those of you that don't know, Asperger's and autism are the same thing. It's considered a spectrum now. But until a couple of years ago, we used to have Asperger's and autism. So some people were diagnosed with Asperger's, which is why. But really, it's all considered the same now. But it's, it's been changed. But Occam Razor said, I have 2 boys with Asperger's, one that was nonverbal until 6 and is now 22 and super smart. Sebastian reminds me of him. I also have a bonus son with autism, CP, lupus, and rheumatoid arthritis. He is severely disabled. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Occam's Razor. Thank you for sharing that. Kenneth says, I think the dates are super important. I agree. I just don't think I can't get off this February 26th date, you guys. I just don't think it's a coincidence. I think the dates are super important, Kenneth says. I think Seth had someone pick up Sebastian and he did it to hurt Katie. Oh, okay. For divorcing him because Seth cannot get over Katie divorcing him. Very interesting. So that's a different theory. So that's the February 26th being significant to Seth and getting somebody to act on his behalf. Very interesting. H&J says, I absolutely agree with you and thankful for being here. Amazing community. Crooked Arrow says, fun fact. Who says that? Right? Who says that when they're in the middle of an interview about their missing child? Fun fact. I made breakfast. I'm so cute. Like me, like me, like me. It wasn't directed toward the interviewer. That was for Chris. Yeah, I agree with you, Crooked Arrow. You have to find their niche. And Justice, I have raised an autistic boy. He is 28 now. The Cat's Life said, let's hit that thumbs up for Jessica and show her some love. Thank you so much, the Cat's Life. And please consider subscribing. We're doing a giveaway, and all you have to do is subscribe and drop me a comment in the comment section below, and you'll be entered. We go over whatever video goes from 39,999,000 videos subscribers to 40,000 subscribers. And I explain it better in the community post tab that I have up, and on the video I have up, I also have it explained out in the description too. But we're going to be doing a cash giveaway, and we're giving away 10 channel memberships. Diane says, Katie is ingratiating herself to Chris. Seems like a juxtaposition to having a successful military career. It does. It does. But, I mean, that would just say that people that are, getting manipulated or have people that are, have narcissistic can't be susceptible just because they're, serving in a job that has some responsibility. But I agree. I'm not saying that you're wrong. The girl next door said a bearded dragon had scale rot from their past. The stakes were Chris's. He had several, not just one. Zoots and Boots says women acting like babies is a particular infantilism of manipulation in a cute form. H&J says, hello to Jane. I hope your day is beautiful. Hey, Julie, come on in. Glad you're here. Christine says, Chris Proudfoot is a horrible person and has no clue how to discipline children. His punishments were over the top, and Katie allowed it. Never in my lifetime did I allow a partner to discipline. I'm watching my words, my kids. Occam's Racer said, people with autism are brilliant in lay terms. I explain the words that are in their mind. The wires are crossed and don't make it to their lips or come out right. I have amazing memories learning about it. I agree. The girl next door said, we're not shopping for a motorcycle, nor do they have a new car. Well, we have seen photos of them out shopping for a motorcycle. Yes, they were. What were they doing at the motorcycle store? Well, we know it was from when Sebastian disappeared. I don't want to like single out you, girl next door. This isn't directed at you, but I'm just like, I think they were out shopping for a motorcycle. Why else would you be at the motorcycle store? But we don't have to agree. 1300 said, why would they put up a reward for a kid they got rid of and don't care about? These people are going to feel the bite of karma. Occam's Razor said, my children taught me so much. Katie Proudfoot can't see her son that way, in my opinion. Hey, Amelia, this is our other head mod, 6 cents, Amelia. Audacity shares, Asperger's was a standalone diagnosis for a reason. There are commonalities they share more so than other autism diagnoses. Oh, that's very interesting. Let me see. I do want to welcome Rhonda. Welcome as a new channel member to Reporter Room. I'm so glad you're here with us today. And thank you so much for becoming a channel member. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for the super sticker. I hope if I missed your super sticker, I'm so sorry. I still see one that looks like I didn't click on it. I don't know, but I can't find it. I wish I could just click up here. It's Sophie. Sophie did a super sticker. Thank you, Sophie. And then the channel member is Help Me Rhonda. Okay. So I will add both of you. Sophie, your super sticker thanks will be added on our next live stream. And Rhonda, you will be added as a channel member for upcoming live streams after today. Let's look up Asperger's because now you got me curious. Let me see. Let's see. Let's go through what the differences are because now I'm like super curious about it. All right. So what exactly is the difference? Let me move myself out of the way. Okay. Asperger's is now considered part of the autism spectrum, but many people with the diagnosis still see themselves as Aspies. It was used as a diagnosis through 2013. So 1994 to 2013. So what changed? According to the DMV, they no longer consider it to be a standalone diagnosis, that it's part of but it is, let's go talk about how it is different. So it was first described by the Viennese pediatrician Hans Asperger in the 1940s. He noticed some children had behaviors similar to autism, but with average intelligent levels and language development. When the DSM-4 added Asperger's, it described the condition as the same as autism with key exceptions. People with Asperger's didn't have delays in areas of communication and language. So this is what she's trying to explain to us. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we could go through and just, educate ourselves more about it. So closer to neurotypical language development, average intelligence, noticeable differences in social interactions, repetitive behavior, strong focused approach to certain interests or activities. So it tends to be a high-functioning autism. High-functioning autism typically means that a person's language skills and development are considered normal by neurotypical standards. So I hope that really helps me to understand it better. I hope it answers some questions for you guys as well, because I wasn't sure. But yeah, that's a really good point. So Audacity said they changed it in 2013 and made it a spectrum, May 2013. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think this is really important for those of us that are less familiar with it and are becoming more familiar with it to understand. Crooked Arrow said, when a student runs off campus grounds, we called the police to find them, only 1 in 25 years. Occam's Razor said, this is one of the nicest chats. It is. It's a really nice group. Kia Gypsy Karma Moon said, I also think Chris Proudfoot is nice to kids early, then becomes tough and stricter after the initial start of the relationship. Yeah, I believe you're right. Probably nice to his spouses early on too, right? Probably nice to Nina early, and then his behavior changed. Kenneth says, I agree with you. My grandson is so smart. He does have problems getting his mouth to say, but his brain is thinking he was diagnosed with Asperger's. Thank you for sharing this. This is so helpful, you guys. Marjorie said, I have never seen a case with so many diversions. Breezy is crushing on the Sandman. Says, my son has Asperger's and went on to college and is now an engineer for Toyota Manufacturing. Audacity said, my son was diagnosed in 2011. He chose to keep his diagnosis as is. They added it to the spectrum only because of the name only. Thank you for sharing this. That's why I wanted to look it up so I could understand what you guys were trying to tell me in the chat. It helps me understand it. H&J Martinez said, most amazing chat I've come into. No one being mean or judging. Everyone is voicing their opinions and getting along. Yeah, amazing souls. This is a great group. And by the way, we're going to be doing something as a group here on Reporter Room for the 4th of July. So if you are in the United States and you're housebound, we're going to do a 4th of July get together. We're going to do a 4th of July live stream for everybody. So put that on your calendar, and I'll be adding that in when we get a little bit closer. Yeah, we have a really nice Facebook group as well. If you type in Reporter Room and Sebastian Rogers, it should pop up. Amelia says, high functioning is a misnomer, are either functional or non-functional with varying degrees of support needs. Kia Gypsy Karma Moon said, I think Sebastian is level 1 and my son is level 2. Let me look up what the levels are. Let's see. Okay, so levels 1, 2, and 3. So it says level 1 for social communication and level 2 for restrictive and repetitive behaviors. Understanding the 3 levels. All right, let's dig into this a little bit and just see. Let me move myself out of the way. Let's see what we're all talking about here. Okay, understanding the 3 levels. So there are 3 different levels. So ASD level 1 requires support. ASD 2 requires substantial support. ASD 3 requiring very substantial support. So 1 is difficulty initiating social interactions, organizations, and planning problems can hamper independence. Level 2 is social interactions limited to narrowed special interest, frequent, restricted, repetitive behavior. And then level 3 is severe deficits in verbal and nonverbal communication skills, great distress or difficulty changing actions or focus. So hopefully that gives everybody a little bit of an idea of like what we are talking about here. It helps me that I know, even if I'm the only one. Betty says, glad I never married the narcissist who has been married now 3 times. Oh my gosh. And Leslie gave me the silent treatment. What the heck was I thinking? He still has a little bit of my time and money banked. Wow. And just says, my son is Asperger's. Crooked Arrow says, whining and dining the mom. Yeah. Kia Gypsy Karma Moon says, especially why he's on his 5th wife. Kenneth says, Breezy, that's so awesome. You have to be so proud. I can't wait for my grandson to go to college and achieve all his goals. Crooked Arrow said, I taught so many Asperger's students. As I said, we learned from each other. That's awesome. You guys, this is so awesome. Occam's Razor said, I gave up Facebook. I missed out a lot, but I do manage social media. And I'm on Twitter, too, under Davies Writer. I did have it scrolling. Let me put it back down because I do want to have Sebastian's name up there. 1300 Cho said to Jane, I never let my narcissistic husband have access to the money. That was smart. Audacity said this would be why when Sebastian was diagnosed, his doctor told Katie to read up on Asperger's. That does make sense, Audacity. Thank you for sharing that. Jane says, my ex owed back paycheck to it and they're garnished my check. You have to get yours and your situation separated. Lori said, this is great information. It really does help. Hopefully it will help us all understanding Sebastian and the dynamics that were going on in the house with Chris and Katie Proudfoot and how this relates to Seth also. Deborah said, I'm really enjoying this chat. I learned a lot I didn't know. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to leave it there because I have another live stream on the Jay Slater case. So I'm going to click out here and I'm going to go to that one next. Please give me a thumbs up on your way out and consider subscribing. It's free and it is free and it does help me out so much. Thank you to our VIP red carpet, Autism GMA, to our producers, George Brown and Jazz Angry Ones, Not So Saintly, Debbie Joe and Jane J, and to our channel members that allow me to cover niche cases like this. Without your support, I would not be able to cover some of these smaller cases that aren't mainstream media. So I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for your kindness. And everything that I do get on the super stickers, super thanks, I do put it back into the channel. And right now I'm putting it back into a computer fund for the channel. So I can get a computer with a little bit of a better camera. And I do want to say thank you. This is super thanks gratitude from last week. Thank you for your super thanks and also gifted channel memberships. I should say last live stream. All right. So I'm going to leave it there. I thank you so much to all of our mods, our channel members, and this is a nice, intelligent group. You're right, Lori. And come on over and join me on the Jay Slater case. So we're going to go there right now.